few verticals have been impacted by technology as much as healthcare. It's a subject that of course touches us all. We talked to some Cisco invested companies about what they're doing in the exciting world of healthcare technology. I'm here with Gull from Elusive and Dror from Guardicore, and we're talking about healthcare with a big focus on security. Thank you very much indeed for joining me today. One of the ways, I guess, to look at healthcare, of course, is the way in which to sell in, typically to the enterprise. But Gull, from your point of view, how much do patient privacy concerns affect the way in which you pitch?
I think that it significantly impacts the way we pitch. Privacy issues and the fact that healthcare are getting more and more attacked have made this significant issues for our customers because their clients are scared about their private information.
Well, from your point of view?
It's well known nowadays that patient medical record is worth much more to criminals than his credit card information. So that makes the healthcare organizations low-hanging fruits and easy targets for desirable targets for those attackers, which are typically unmatched by their security budgets and personnel.
So typically healthcare is perhaps been in the past, you said, an easy target and perhaps not quite as defensed as other enterprise situations. What specific challenges from a security point of view is a healthcare market's facing?
They have two major challenges. One is theft of information, personal records of patients, which are, again, a low-hanging fruit for the criminals. And the other one is disruption of service, because those are bad guys out there, and they can actually take down life-saving equipment, which is the worst thing you can think of. It's really a nightmare, and this is very easy for attackers to achieve.
I agree with Dror, and I think there are two major trends that we've seen in the market. The first one is the IoT and the fact that healthcare networks are becoming more interconnected, more sophisticated devices that were not built for security but are connected to the internet and complicates the traditional networks. The second trend actually comes from the attacker's perspective, and that is there was always profit to be made from attacking healthcare institutes by stealing medical records, etc. But ransomware and advanced ransomware actually makes it an easier way to capitalize on what they're doing. So instead of just stealing the personal data, they can now shut down a critical medical device and demand ransom for that, which is way easier money than any other way.
How have the challenges changed over the years?
I think, and Dror can help me with that, I think that customer used to go to the doctor, wait for their personal information, wait for his response, and that was the interaction. But we are all, as consumers, want information now, quicker, and available all the time, and same with healthcare. So those hospitals and health clinic want to make this information more accessible, strengthening their IT and putting more challenges of security for them.
Well, you mentioned about budgets, or perhaps sometimes in an underfunded situation. I mean, is that the biggest challenge, do you see?
The biggest challenge that we see is actually personnel. So yes, budget is an issue. We have customers who are large banks, they obviously have much more money to spend on security. But even if the healthcare organization would somehow find the money, finding the right people and training them is an even harder task. Today in the industry, it's not a secret that it's not easy to find well-trained security personnel. And that's why even if they got the budget, if they buy the security appliances, they would still have an issue because all this equipment is useless without the right people operating it.
Are you typically brought in before there's a problem in advance, or are you finding that you're getting that phone call panicked at 2 in the morning?
So generally speaking, we are selling to early adopters. I probably can speak for both of us. We are young companies, innovative, And we are not selling yet another firewall which is X% better than the last generation firewall. We're selling something new, which by definition means we are targeting early adopters. Healthcare organizations are not traditionally early adopters. I can testify as a patient. They are really not early adopters of the latest and greatest technology. So what we see changing is one of the most dramatic changes is somebody who gets hit suddenly can become an early adopter, or when somebody next to him gets hit. So that's one of the major drivers, market drivers for us, because we live and die by the ability to detect and to make business with the early adopters. And they are typically either organizations which are traditionally early adopters, which have people that are looking for the latest and greatest technology. Not always the case with healthcare, but the other way is organization which got badly hit, or if it's better for them, somebody next to them got badly hit, then they become early adopters.
If I can pull you in on this, do you agree or do you find a different situation?
So, in the way we go to market, I think we're similar, and I would definitely agree that we aim for early adopters. But what we have at least witnessed, certainly in several regions, is the amount of attacks in healthcare raises awareness so much that we get called sometimes right before, sometimes right after, and sometimes, as Dror said, when someone in the vertical healthcare has been attacked, and because it's becoming increasingly often, we get more and more call on either side of the event, I would say.
We talked about healthcare. Obviously, there's a lot of want and a lot of need for protection, but sometimes a bit slower to adopt for all sorts of reasons. And I guess perhaps sometimes when choosing a partner, that external validation is incredibly important. How have you found that being part of the CI network has allowed you to kind of step up, if you like, and get kind of noticed by these CTOs?
So I think that for us it helped tremendously getting a stamp from a body like Cisco saying this is a valid technology and something you should look at. Definitely helps bridge this cultural gap that we find in healthcare. And we have customers that actually told us that because we have Cisco as a back, they were willing to let us in the door. And I think it's specifically important in the healthcare sector.
It's a brand that the healthcare vertical knows very, very, very well. Have you found that benefit to you?
Yes, absolutely. I think for us as a small company to go pitch to a healthcare organization, which is not always an early adopter and not always has a huge security team that is able to look for the latest and greatest in technology, having the validation of such a market leader as Cisco is always a good thing.
We talked about a wide range of subjects around healthcare and some of the challenges that they're facing, and it feels like those challenges are only going to increase with that range of data that's available to both the patients and to doctors. It seems like an exciting space to be in, and I look forward to seeing how your companies grow over the coming years. Thanks very much indeed for joining us today.
Thank you
for having us.